Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today we are looking at a card which we all knew was coming. But now it's been confirmed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting a fighting type Torterra. Torterra is, of course, a ground type in the video games, so it was always going to be a fighting type when it came over to the trading card game. And just like I said with Infernape a couple of days ago, this is the first proper fighting Torterra that we've ever had. And just like I said with Infernape, yes, I know we technically got a fighting type Torterra in Stormfront, but given that it only used grass energy and no fighting energy whatsoever, I'm not inclined to consider it a real fighting Pokemon. Come at me in the comments. Though do remember the main rule. Be nice. Now, I like Torterra as a fighting type Pokemon. We had Empoleon come back as a metal, and I said, you know what, water type's better. But then Infernape came along, it changed from a fire to a fighting type, and I said, you know what, attack-wise, better as a fighting Pokemon, although the ability, it makes literally no difference. But ladies and gentlemen, we now have a fighting type Torterra, so let's, just like with the others, have a gander and see if it is better as a fighting type. Now, not being a grass Pokemon does mean you lose both of the Lurantis, the promo Lurantis that allows your attacks to do an extra 20 damage, which it's kind of annoying because that was good with the first attack, which we'll recap in a minute. Having said that, it was clunky, and although we can't add quite as much damage with fighting cards, it's potentially and certainly arguably easier to do so. And we're losing the GX, and the GX is really good for energy acceleration, but nobody really plays it for that anyway. We are also losing Golisopod as an easy grass partner. Now, being a fighting Pokemon, you gain a bunch of stuff. You gain strong energy, that's really good, allows your attacks to do an extra 20 damage per strong energy, although do remember as always that strong energy is potentially vulnerable to things like enhanced hammer. There's quite a lot of special energy hate around at the moment. You gain Regirock, who sits on your bench and allows you to do an extra 10 damage, and you gain Brooklet Hill, but not really for Torterra. Now, if you're playing Torterra, you're probably playing other fighting Pokemon. You can search them out with Brooklet Hill. The thing is, Brooklet Hill only goes for basic fighting, and this won't be good for Torterra unless we get a basic fighting Turtwig. Now, I did say this in the Infernape video with Chimchar, but let me be really clear about this. We're definitely not getting a basic Turtwig that's fighting, because in the video games, Turtwig isn't a ground Pokemon, it's only a grass Pokemon. That line doesn't actually get ground typing until it goes all the way up to Torterra. Sorry about that. But there's a decent chance you'll be playing Torterra with stuff like Buzzwole and Lycanroc, so you could search out your Buzzwole and your Rockruff here using Brooklet Hill, which is pretty nice. And of course, they do make good partners, so you lose Golisopod, but you get these. I'm calling that quite a good thing. Now, in terms of the weakness, you lose your fire weakness, which is actually probably a good thing. As I've said in a number of videos lately, metal Pokemon are on the rise, which means that fire Pokemon are presumably going to be on the rise, which means fire is a weakness that you won't want. Grass weakness, that's pretty sweet. Although, saying that, Golisopod is still likely to be a well-played Pokemon, but then again, if fire really does see as much play as it could, maybe Golisopod goes away. Either way, it's kind of weird that a Pokemon goes from grass to fighting and then gets a grass weakness when it was a grass Pokemon before. Now, the first attack here for a fighting colourless, kind of annoying because you don't get access to double colourless energy here, 50 damage, and heal from this Pokemon as much damage as you did to the defending Pokemon. So clearly here, the theory is quite simple. You want to be healing all the damage on you every turn. You've got 180 damage. So that's actually really nice, because unless your opponent does 180, and I mean you have 180 HP, they have to do 180 damage to KO you. And unless they do, you're going to stick around. But you don't need to heal 170 every turn. What you really need to do is heal all the damage on you. And at the moment, and this is not guaranteed for every Pokemon, but at the moment the key number is 120. Because if we look at the main Pokemon in the format at the moment, the number 120 keeps coming up. Zoroark with a full bench does 120. Golisopod, if it came active that turn, does 120. Silvally does 120, and when it comes out, I think it's going to see quite a lot of play. Naganadel, assuming it has a full bench of Ultra Beast Pokemon, does 120. So as long as you can heal 120 damage every turn, you are probably going to be okay here. Now remember, you're losing Lurantis, which could add up to 80 damage per turn, and hence heal 80 damage per turn. But then again, that really evolving up 4 stage 1s, which wasn't impossible, but was certainly improbable. Nowadays, if you take the fighting Torterra, maybe it's not quite as potent without the 4 Lurantis, but it's certainly easier to get rolling. So let's say you take a strong energy and a choice band, you're hitting 100 damage. 1 strong energy, 1 choice band, 100 damage. Anyone who's played a fighting deck since Guardians Rising came out will know that actually that's not the hardest thing in the world to actually pull off. 1 fighting energy and a choice band, it's going to happen here and there. It's not the worst thing ever in terms of ease of use. But we don't want to do 100, we want to do 120. Well, that's all right, because in comes Regirock. And then Regirock allows you to hit up to 120, and now you're rolling and you're good. And like I've said, maybe you'll be hit for more than 120, maybe you need to do more, but you could always play another strong energy. You could play as many strong energy. Well, you could play up to 4. And you could do an extra 80 with strong energy, just like you could do an extra 80 with Lurantis, but you're not going to have 4 strong energy and 1 Torterra, just like you're not going to have 4 stage 1 Lurantis on your bench. But the point is, you could play more, and you could play more Regirock. I like this more as a fighting attack than I do as a grass attack. Sure, you lose Lurantis, but I would rather have strong energy and Regirock because they're just easier to get rolling. And don't forget, of course, like we've already said, Regirock is easily searched with Brooklet Hill. And then we get to the second attack. Fighting, colourless, 100 damage, and it does 20 to each of your benched Pokemon. Now, doing 20 to your benched Pokemon really isn't the end of the world. We've still got Mr. Mime. There's always ways to block bench damage. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. If you are really worried, you could just go for something like Reshiram or Zekrom from Shining Legends that have got outrage attacks that do more damage based on how many damage counters are on them, and would then give you a fire and a lightning type attacker. Although annoyingly they use double colourless energy, and just like the first attack, this is not an attack that uses double colourless energy. And here's the problem here. It's really expensive. Fighting, colourless? No! That's really expensive! Now, with strong energy and choice band and Regirock and all of that, you can get it up to 170 quite easily. Get a 1-hit KO on a Tapu Lele. You only need to add 10 damage to get a 1-hit KO on a Zoroark, which is quite nice. But honestly, like the first attack, it's too expensive. Now, if you put Torterra against a Zoroark, you're slower, but you can do 120, 1-hit KO them. Then they do 120, and then you heal 120 and 1-hit KO, and it would be really good if Zoroark wasn't played with Golisopod, which will hit you for weakness and get a 1-hit KO. But against some kind of quad Zoroark deck, this would be sick. As it is, I'm giving it 3 Wassies. It's a fun deck. But the weakness to Golisopod hurts unless Golisopod sees a huge, dramatic decrease in play, and at the end of the day, both of these attacks are just plain expensive. But the first attack is really fun, and I think the options you have as a fighting Pokemon make it worth having a gander. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you lovely people. Let me know in the comment section. What do you think about Torterra? And of course, do you think it is better as a fighting type Pokemon? Go nuts! be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods and so on, you can do so by going to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. And like I've said in my last few videos, please go and check out Wassy Plays. I'll pop a link in the description. That is my video game channel. I'm trying to build it up. I want to be a 2-channel dude, but don't worry. PTCG Radio will be unaffected, but if I can have a second channel that does as well as this one, then I can just make YouTube videos. That will be fun. Please help me out, go and subscribe. Anyway, by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.